Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. We're just waiting, I guess, for Sonja. Is that what's going on?
Okay.
Where are you?
Where am I?
Yeah, just curious where you are physically.
Oh, I'm in Baltimore.
Okay, at the moment, are you? Okay, very good. Well, that's good. That adds some texture to the conversation. That you're home in the city of what the documentary is all about, anyway, and about what our conversation will be about. That's good. Hi, Sonja.
Hi, I'm outside. It might be a little distracting.
I understand.
But I'll do my best.
We'll all do our best. This is a podcast, so it's an audio experience, but so this will be a particularly interesting one. But I'm excited to talk about.
This is a podcast. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I actually hear you pretty well, and it's kind of exciting. We're minutes before the Thanksgiving holiday, and we're all trying to make this work. I would think I was going to come in the other day to HBO. It would have been a little bit easier for everybody, but this is fine. We can switch right into the film. I think, Kwame, you're still on the line?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, my name's Adam. The name of the podcast, just so you know, is called FIlmwax Radio, and I basically try to champion and support lots of different independent films and documentaries and that kind of thing. So the name of the film is Baltimore Rising. Sonja, this is your first time making a feature film, let alone the documentary, correct?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And normally I would just, I guess everybody makes a first film, of course, once they decide they're going to make films, of course. But this is a heavy-duty film in so many ways. And the subject matter, obviously, it's very ambitious. And you pulled it off remarkably well, I want to add. But did you not think... You're welcome. But were you so compelled that you felt like nobody else could make this film because of your relationship to... Baltimore? Why start with such a seemingly challenging type of documentary?
Yeah, I don't want to compare. I wasn't thinking no one else can make this film. It was really much more organic and intuitive than that. I know the city. I lived there while I was working there. My daughter went to high school there.
Okay.
I left. I came back. I was doing, grassroots work there for, several years when all this happened. And just, I was in the right place at the right time. If there's such a thing, it was just, I'm a storyteller in general. That's what I do as an actor. I do have a writing background as well, but, you have to understand story to do what I do. But I also have a passion for the people of the city.
Yeah.
I had been completely taken by the city's most valuable treasure to me, and that's its people. When I came back to town to start the nonprofit and do the work, so much so that I for a while I kind of almost disconnected myself from the entertainment, my entertainment career in a really substantial way. But I got to a point where I realized one really did serve the other. I needed to kind of figure out how that worked in order to be impactful in one place and happy in the other. I was, when this all, happened and I was, in town and people wanted to, I heard everybody wanted to reframe the narrative and whatnot. I just thought, I could be useful here. And that's, how the film came about. I did not think I was going to direct it at first.
Oh, wow.
I thought that there are two directors who are executive producers. Mark Levin is a documentary director, and Anthony Hemingway is a narrative feature, and a TV director. I thought one of them was going to direct this. I thought I was just going to, introduce them to the people and produce,
The tables were turned on you.
Excuse me?
I said the tables were turned, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. They were booked, and I was, it's like, oh, shucks, throw me the ring. I got it. we'll work it out.
It's great.
Somehow.
Yeah. Again, a remarkable job, really. And so I want to bring Kwame out, of course. He's being very patient, waiting on the line there. And I just wanted to mention to people listening that, the film takes place in the wake of Freddie Gray's death by 6 police officers. And of course, that was then also that would bring you guys together. Describe, Kwame, how you met Sonja and how you ended up being one of the primary subjects of the film.
Well, I don't like to call myself a primary subject of the film, but I do think that.
Well, what do you prefer?
What Sonja did was very. Well, I think that we all play an important role, but the way that Sonja highlighted, young people's voices, I think is important for the next generation of leadership and change agents. So I met Sonja. I think we were on a walk. There was a walk in Baltimore City from Milton and North Avenue to Hilton, from Hilton and North Avenue to Milton and North Avenue, which goes across the entire city of Baltimore. And then we just did some workshops where we, told stories about people that were around Penn North, a little bit of our own experiences. And then, as you look back 2 years and, oh, wow, we've been filming for 2 years, the film is done. And so I think it's, really great that, people in Baltimore, because there was work being done before Freddie Gray passed. There was work being done after he passed. There was work being done after we stopped shooting.
Sure.
But I think it was like for a documentary and for a major company like HBO to tell a transparent story like this documentary came into fruition. I think that's important, especially for people on the ground to be able to rewrite the narrative of the protests that were sensationalized by the mainstream media.
Right. I'm just going to bring this in not as a tacky sort of thing. Most people may remember you, Kwame, very much from that crystallized moment where you had a confrontation with Geraldo Rivera on the streets during the protests, and which was being framed as rioting, and which I know is what was the most offensive thing to you, correct? The portrayal of just the rioting and then further stereotype what the people of Baltimore, how they behave.
Yeah, well, even like calling I find it, I want people to know that, it wasn't a confrontation. It was my attempt to have a conversation in which you get to witness firsthand mainstream media not listening to people trying to express their pain.
Okay.
But yeah, this wasn't a riot. This was an uprising. This was provoked by the police. This was provoked by the lack of investment that had happened way before Freddie Gray passed. And what it did was invoke a lot of trauma and pain that many people face, because it could have been any one of us in the city of Baltimore that day, because many of us have had our own challenges with the police.
Sure.
And it was, we were on the ground. We were as peaceful as peace could be. We weren't singing Kumbaya, but rather we were singing, why is this happening, and this is what the conditions that caused this to happen. So I think that's what's the difference between a riot. A riot is kind of random. This was sprung out of years of lack of investment, years of police brutality, years of lead paint poisoning being tested on kids in Baltimore City.
Asthma, whatever comes along with neglected housing, etc.
Yeah.
Correct. Sonja, did you mentioned before you lived in Baltimore all the years that you were shooting some other HBO production I'm not familiar with. I'm kidding. But you were living there that entire time, correct? Did you say you raised your daughter there and she was going to school there?
What was the last part?
Oh, I'm sorry. You raised a child in Baltimore. Is that during those years or subsequently? What were you saying?
Well, she attended high school there.
Okay. Was that because you were
Baltimore School? Yeah.
Because you were shooting The Wire?
The first year I was living in New York, and it was such a hectic schedule that I ended up relocating to Baltimore. So I spent the next 6 years in Baltimore.
So
I think it was 2002 to 2008.
Yeah. Was that when the series ended, when The Wire ended, and you stayed on a little longer because she was in high school?
During the course of shooting. The Wire ended in 2007, but my daughter was a senior in high school.
Sure.
So I let her, I stayed for the next year.
Of course.
And then I came back, actually. I only left for a month. I came back in 2009.
In 2009?
But I left in August. I was back in, what was it, April?
It was in your blood. It just got in your blood, the city.
Yes, among other things.
Well, you mentioned you also started a nonprofit. Can you just mention that again, or what the nonprofit is about?
Yeah, back when I came to town, with the nonprofit, and we were doing more. We came to town at first with Rewired for Life, which was a pilot program that used the wire as a teaching tool for formerly incarcerated youth. It was like a life skills program, but also a critical thinking program that where the young people were putting themselves into the positions of the young people in the wire, which they could relate, and they also were able to express themselves through poetry and journaling. It was really successful and a lot of fun, to be honest with you. And we made some long-standing connections. But from there, we were doing some direct service, and some community building work, realizing that if you're going to support young people, you've got to support the community around them. You can't just, have them come into a program. They're going to go home, to the neighborhood. And that is their safety net. And that needs to be, cultivated and nurtured as well. So then we sort of branched out into some community building work. We had, executed some great initiatives called the Baltimore Wake Up. We funded, a lot of, we micro-funded a lot of community groups to do programs in their own neighborhoods, which was successful. And then, really understanding that media advocacy is really our unique offering. Realizing that there's so many folks who are doing so much of some similar work that we were offering in terms of direct service. We're now moving more towards using the sort of media advocacy part of our mission, especially as we move forward from here, and raising funding for grassroots nonprofits, which historically don't get the funding because of various protocols and regulations. So I think as being on the ground for so long, and this is why long-term commitment, in my opinion, is really important. I came down like every bleeding heart, that wants to serve, and I had an idea, which is still viable and still, operable and all that. But the longer you stay, the more, entrenched you become, engaged you become, the more you get to know the people, the more you're able to determine and understand what is needed and what hole you can fill. And when you get there, that's when you can be truly, truly impactful. When you fit that square peg in the square hole, and there was a hole there, and it was waiting for you to fill. And so Rewired for Change, I'm very excited, for the future of Baltimore. I think right now we're at a really we're at a tipping point, and I think there's going to be the next 5 to 10 years in the grassroots. I think you're going to see some real shifts in these communities because of our commitment. We're in for the long haul. I think that's what people need. Some people. That's what the city needs. Yeah. That wasn't a moment. That's showing you the internal workings of change. That's a micro. That's like a slide. Like a microscope slide. That's all that is. This is just a sliver of what we do. I got it. I understand. Hey, Kwame, I know it's the events that took place during the film and not necessarily the film itself that probably has really changed your life. But before you might have called yourself maybe an artist and as a musician, I wonder, as well as an activist, how do you feel like? What do you identify yourself as now, since life is obviously changed so much in the last bunch of years? I always say I was active way before I was ever called an activist. And now I've embraced the role. I've had the ability to, because of a platform, for me just challenging mainstream media, I've had the ability to write for mainstream media, or write for media publications, Huffington Post, USA Today, and Mashable, and offer a different perspective. But I've also stayed on the ground and done work with youth. I've had a nonprofit since 2013 called Brothers in Action Incorporated. So continuing to work. I mean, the issues were highlighted, but the challenges still remain in everyday life in Baltimore. And it's just about I look at it for me is that I'm young. I'm still young, and that the decisions I made at 21, the mistakes and the success, they shaped me into the person and who I am today at 23. And I think that's important to understand is that we didn't know what we were
continued leadership and continue to pour efforts into Baltimore and resources, I think one day Baltimore will say that, we have tackled the problem with the high murder rate. We've tackled the problem with the high heroin addiction. And, I hope that by the time I become old and one of the elders in Baltimore, that I can say that, my work, my efforts, along with many others, help shape the next generation of Baltimore change agents.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, actually, given what I see. The film is called Baltimore Rising. It's currently available for streaming and viewing on HBO and all of its other platforms. Directed by Sonja Sohn, and including of many subjects involved in the film, Kwame Rose. Listen, I just really appreciate your guys coming on. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. And, thank you very much for making this happen today.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a great Thanksgiving.
All right, Sonja. Bye-bye. Bye, Kwame. Nice meeting you both.
All right,